but I am not a normal person, and I should not be allowed to buy any cars anymore without adult supervision.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
This is the sales listing for the cheapest Ford SportKA in Germany, and by completely ignoring every urge towards common sense and good judgment I ever had, I went to pick it up. It's a Ford SportKA, which is a sportier version of the first generation Ford Ka. In November of 2003, someone in France was probably quite excited about getting delivery of this SportKA in one of the best colors available for it, Imperial Blue. Fast forward almost exactly 20 years, and it has since been driven over 168,000 kilometers by no less than 12 different owners. And now I am lucky number 13. Oh, wait. Besides the sporty-looking bumpers and the 16-inch wheels, the Brazilian-made 1.6-liter Duratec engine in the SportKA makes 95 horsepower. That's 15 more than the 1.3-liter in the normal car. It also has a close-ratio gearbox, bigger brakes, lower, wider and stiffer suspension, a different steering rack and some interior goodies like the chunky leather steering wheel and the shift knob from the Ford Puma. We can't start this car right now because the battery is dead. So what do you think, boys and girls? I say 7. 2.3? Yeah, okay, I don't think they're saving this battery at all. Not for even one crank.
It's an interesting question.
So I hooked up a charge-up battery and I was able to start the car and drive it around for a bit. I even got to do a quote-unquote
burnout,
which may or may not have contributed to what came next. Now I don't have this on camera, but I was pulling the car out of the garage a couple of weeks later, and just as I was rounding this corner with the steering wheel almost fully locked to the left, I lost drive. Here we go. Reverse. I put the clutch out. Clutch is fully out now, as you can see. We are not moving. So going underneath the car, let me show you what's going on in here. So the drive shaft is spinning freely. I think it might be broken. And of course these don't fit. Look at this. So the car needed to be pushed back into the garage. But since the front left tire had been sitting flat for weeks and me not having an air pump on hand that day, I tried to put on the spare wheel, which went well. Nice. Jesus. So I put the flat tire back on and tried to push it, which went even better. Finally, after a friendly neighbor helped me push it, the car was back in the unit.
Man, look at this old shit.
Full disclosure, I've already looked over this car and there are a bunch of issues. A whole bunch of issues. So let's quickly jack this car up and I'll show you. These lug nuts are KAputt. I Aside from the drive shaft on that side being held on by 2 nuts, and of course being loose, this one is held on correctly with 1 nut, but that nut is not really secured. The nuts on top of the struts are loose on both sides. The pinch bolt on the front right suspension strut is loose. That is the heat shield on the cat, which is completely loose, just laying in there. That's the bracket for the O2 sensor, and it's zip tied onto the steering rack. This is the ventilation for the gearbox. Wasn't connected to anything, just hanging loose here behind the brake booster. So let's just hang it here for now. This thing is loose. On this side it's completely missing. I think it was broken over here, I'm not sure. Oh, we have the last service. August of last year, they changed the oil in the oil filter. We are going to change the oil anyway, because we're gonna be zeroing out everything on this car. Full service, because I have 0 records of anything being done to it, except for this. Always a good sign when you buy a car and it has this in it, but no amp and no good radio. Again with the same stuff. Okay, so here's the rest of the shoddy stereo install. I can't wait to rip this out. Also back here, I think you can still see it, we are missing the badge. This reflector is broken. This is of course an aftermarket backup camera. Not sure why you need that in a Ford car. By the way, I love this license plate holder thing. It says Autoverwerter Hannover, which means car breakers in Hanover, which is actually not a good sign. I have no idea where this car's been. The previous owner also installed this beautiful radio. It's very nice. It's also held in very well, of course. Quality install. Did someone glue this? It feels like it's glued. Holy crap, there is glue on here. Now, from 2 meters away, and probably on camera, the bodywork may look in a semi-good condition, but it's not. It's the worst thing on this car by a country mile. The whole front bumper is not sitting right. The grille has been mushed in. And it's still loose in this corner right here. Look at this. There are many dings and rock chips. And if you compare the 2 fog lights, you can see that this one has seen better days. And everywhere you look, there are small dings and scratches and even rust bubbles forming. I think I saw some here. It's the same story with the rear bumper. Someone decided to put it on with a screw. It's been hit right here and right here. Someone has attempted to do something about it, I guess. Also, this whole thing right here. Not sure what happened here. This is a common rust spot on cars. Of course, KAs. And it has been redone, according to the previous owner at least. So the bodywork is a solid 3 out of 10. But that actually does not bother me that much, because I want to drive this car and enjoy it. And if someone dings a door in a supermarket, I'm not really going to care. Having said that, I really do want to take care of this paint at some point. But first of all, we're going to take care of the mechanical part, do a full service, and we'll get to cosmetics at the end. I put all the parts in boxes. This is suspension, this is engine fluids. I can't wait to get to work. So let's get this bumper off. Surprisingly still solid in here. One small rust hole. The rest of it is fine. People will do anything except buy new clips. A wing nut. That's more expensive than a clip. Has to be. Another wing nut. Jesus. There we go. Next, let's connect the fog lights. Here we have another broken piece. Oh, what's this? I either just broke something, or it was broke. probably. Alright, that's disconnected. Alright. The rust is very minimal except here, whereas it's not minimal. There's a huge rust hole. And look how nicely accessible that has become. Okay, let's continue making room here. This is the resonator. And the airbox. Yes, you can just take this whole thing off now. What is this? Something connected directly between the plus and minus poles. Not sure what that is. Okay, so I googled a little bit and it seems like some sort of rodent protection. So there would be a small speaker in there to scare off any rodents so they don't chew on your cables. I would like to start with the biggest job of them all, which is the accessory drive belt and its tensioners, and of course the water pump. But to get at that we have to remove the alternator, and to get at that we have to remove the intake manifold. So let's start there. Right, first step is to disconnect the fuel line. Next up we have to detach the throttle cable from the throttle body. Next up are the PCV hoses here. And put this off to the side. So next up are the two bolts holding this thing in. That one right in there, and another one which I can barely see. There we go. Now I can actually take the manifold off. Oh yeah. Need a bigger wrench. A bigger wrench. And the bolt is rounded off.
Oh, happy day.
Please come out. Yes. Yes. And the last one must be found first. How do you get there? This is gonna be fun. Two extensions and a universal joint. Let's see if we can get this out. Yes! Beautiful. This is what it took to get this bolt out. You just missed this thing popping off. And holy oil. Very oily in here. Okay, let's unplug it now then. Here we go. Still connected here, of course, which I could not get off. This can just stay here. Just sit down. There we go. Time for the alternator. Removing the cap. Okay, that's off. Right, I had to do that to get at those two bolts which hold in the alternator. That took a lot of force, dude. Jesus. How do you get to the other one? 1/4 inch. Maybe that'll help. Oh no, that is not gonna get loose. Like that. I can't get to that bolt. So let's remove the power steering pump first, which means let's remove the belt first. Oh yes. So let's take this belt out first, completely. So now I can get to that bolt from the alternator. Oh, wow. And now the last bolt is right here. Now it should just drop off, apparently. And it does, very good. So quick recap, we had to remove the intake manifold, put it to the side. We had to remove the power steering pump, which was a pain in the ass. And then we removed the alternator, and now, finally, we can get onto the bracket. And yep, this whole part has to be changed out because it's not serviceable. The tensioner and the pulley are part of it. And listen to that. So 5 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You know, for how rusty this car is, the bolts are coming out quite nicely. Now, it should come out. Let's go. Oh yeah. This is a whopper. Nice. The next step would be to replace the water pump. I've already removed the power steering reservoir off to the side. And that's the water pump pulley down there. If you're gonna do this, don't be as stupid as I was and leave the belt on until you've loosened the bolts on it. I forgot to do that, so I have this system right here to keep it in place. Alright, let's try this out. Okay. I'm gonna have to get back to you once I got these loose. So I put the old belt on the pulley and I held it tight with a pair of vice grips. So now all these bolts are loose. As you can see, there's a lot of space. And the pulley. Perfect. Draining the coolant. Alright, let's remove the water pump. I was planning on showering at home, but I guess that's done now. Okay, let's try to get it out. Alright, I've cleaned the surface as much as I could. For the last 15 minutes I've been looking at the seemingly religious question of using RTV or not using RTV with paper gaskets. And today I'm in a mood where I would say I don't believe in God, in RTV, so we're going in dry. The spec is 10 Newton meters. I'm gonna go to 7 and do it in 2 steps. I'm gonna clean this up. There's still a bit of water on the underneath. I'm gonna clean it up and see if tomorrow there's more water. And that's probably a sign it's leaking. And then maybe I'll be a believer. Oh yeah, dry as a bone. Very good. Now it's time for the pulley to go back on. Okay, now that that's back in, we can start putting everything back together. Today everything but the manifold, because I have to order new gaskets for that. They're still on the way, but the rest can go back on. So let's do that. Well, that's a bit underwhelming, isn't it? Just dumped in there? Come on. Seems to be very high quality though. Yep, that lines up very nicely indeed. I put the first bolt in to hold it in place. Alright, that's the first bolt in. Next up, the second bolt. I don't say. Next up is the alternator. So let's put the alternator in. Right, believe it or not, there is a sequence for tightening these, and it's the lower, the upper left, and then the upper right. Alright, I extracted these from the old one. The power steering pump can go back on. And the last one I'm gonna do good and tight. Okay, that is tight. So everything is back in except for the manifold now. And of course the belt, I'm gonna put it down. Whatever, let's go to the belt. Alright. Okay, I hope you were able to see that, but now it's on. So that's in, and the water pump is in. We are done with this job. Nice. Alright, since we're on coolant, let's continue on and replace this thermostat housing. We're also upgrading to aluminium. This is plastic and it's known to fail in grand fashion. Okay. Okay, let's remove that last hose. And that is out. Here's the old part, and here's the part I got. And it also has a new thermostat and temperature sensor pre-installed. And of course the gasket. Well, except being brown, the oil looks good. No metal shavings or anything. So, this is reassuring. Alright. Now, some of you may not know that Hella makes drain plugs, and of course they don't. This is a sensor for an upcoming project, so if you want to see that, you know what to do. Cross your toes that this holds oil and does not leak. I'll go half on this for now. Hello and welcome to the back of the engine. It's time to change out the spark plug wires and the spark plugs. And I also want to take care of the O-rings on this dipstick. I'm going with these NGK spark plug wires. And of course, NGK spark plugs. Oh, that's fine like that. Okay. Yeah, good thing we're changing these out. That's crazy. You can now actually extract that heat shield from the cat. Here they are. They all look more or less the same. However, only the left one, number one, is an original, Motorcraft. Alright, so I rechecked and these are the wrong part. They sent me the one for the 1.3. I need the one for the 1.6. So let's take these out and send them back. We'll get the right one soon. Alright, so let's change out those leaking O-rings, or that one leaking O-ring on the dipstick. Nice. Alright, let's change out the air filter. Take off the resonator. That would usually be it, but I've noticed something which I had to Google, which is this part right here. It looks like it's reducing the diameter of the air going into the engine, and that's because it is. There's no other way of putting it. It's just reducing the diameter, it's just throttling the engine somehow. So until I've driven the car with it in, I can't compare. So let's leave it in for now and do a comparison video later. Get that out of the way. More cleaning then. Oh, that's one. Yes! Got all the leaves out. So I cleaned up a bit. Let's put everything back in. Oh, just broke off. Both of them broke off. I mean, this is secured with a bolt in the middle, but yeah, actually, but nothing, it will hold. Alright, I'm just gonna put these to the side and move on. If I find a way to fix that, I'll do it in the future, but for now. Okay, I guess that'll do it for this episode. Tune in next time for some more action.